Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I'm here with my life, Dr. Alicia. And Pillow Talk is a show where we get together and we lay against our pillows most of the time and have conversations about interesting topics in the black community that we think are worth discussing, particularly things that have to do with love and money. Now, as we get started, if you could do me a favor, give me a quick yes. As you hit the thumbs up button, give me a yes that you can hear us okay. Let us know that our audio is coming through all right. And I'm going to ask my lovely wife, Dr. Alicia, how you doing today, babe?
I'm doing all right. It's pretty early in the morning.
Yeah, well, it's 7:17 on the East Coast, six
Oh,
seventeen on our coast
okay. That's
in
still
the
kind of
central.
early.
It is early. It is early.
And you've been up for a while.
Well, I did. I got up about an hour and a half ago. I tend to wake up just like 5:30 a.m. I get excited every day. There's always so much
You
great
do
stuff.
get it. You do get yourself all excited, don't you?
I do. I do.
Mm.
Yeah, there's always something to be excited about. What's up,
Yeah.
Justin Pender? How you doing, brother? Good to see you. And El Hodge is here, and Carmen Chambers is here. Albert Robinson from the Dirty Third is here. What's going on, brother? How are you? And so let's hop into our topic today. This topic has to do with the show The Bachelorette. Now, does anybody follow this show? Apparently, there was a sister on there, Rachel Lindsay, who married a guy on The Bachelorette. His name, what was his name? I should keep his name. Brian something. Brian, Rachel and Brian. We're gonna call them Rachel and Brian. I don't have his last name, but they ended
I
up getting
do. I have his last name, but I don't know how to pronounce it.
Abasolo, I think.
Abasolo.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
What kind
Brian.
of name is that?
I don't know.
Okay.
This it stands for white boy.
Yeah, but he's a special kind of white boy with that last name.
That's true.
Abasolo. Is that Italian
He's
or?
probably ethnic of some level.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
okay. All
So
right.
so Rachel and Brian, they got together on The Bachelorette, and they ended up getting married, and apparently that was a big deal, and they had a big social media following, and now they have parted ways. And what's really interesting, what got my attention on this story is. I tend to be interested in topics that relate to love and money. I wrote a book years ago called Financial Lovemaking, and one of the things that I've noticed is that in this case, as in a few others, he's actually asking her for spousal support. He's actually saying to her like, "Hey, I can't afford to pay my bills. I can't afford to maintain the lifestyle to which you've helped me become accustomed." We ain't, what's interesting too is that it's not like they have any kids, so this is not like a child support kind of thing. Dwayne Washington said she does a podcast with Van. Is it Van Jones?
Oh, she does. I don't know what she does. I
She
was
yeah
looking
she
on here. It doesn't
yeah she
say.
does some kind of podcast that has the word bachelor or bachelorette in there or something, I think. But she's with Van Jones. Interesting. Van Jones is
Oh,
the guy from TMZ.
well, you know what? She's a bachelorette again. She's
Oh, that's
living up
true.
to her title.
That is so true. That is so true. Yeah, Van
Wow.
Jones. D1 knows Van. Yeah. So anyway,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So this thing happened, and I'd be curious to ask you all, like, if you have a couple that doesn't have any kids and the woman makes more money than the man, do you think that the man should ask for spousal support? I mean, I almost feel like it's like a matter of pride. Like I couldn't. Two things I would not do. One is I would never hit a woman, even if a woman hit me first. And number two, I would not ask for spousal support
Why not? Why not ask for it?
because I think that it's your money. It ain't my money.
Well, what would conditions have to be in order for for someone to ask for spousal support? Maybe he has a lifestyle of going to the spa and having a clothing budget
But that's not her
that she gives
responsibility.
him. Well, maybe he's a chiropractor, so he's not broke. But
Mm.
maybe she just makes so much more money than him that the decision of their breakup would just be financially devastating because he's now grown accustomed to a certain lifestyle that's provided by her and all the money she makes in this podcast.
Well, what's interesting
Perhaps.
about
Listen, I'm here not to judge. I'm
hmm
here to try to understand and explain. So I just want to make that clear.
I agree.
Okay?
You're here to understand and explain.
Yes.
But you can call me Judge Judy because
I'm not
I'm
judging.
judging
It's a
everything.
judge-free zone for
I'm Judge
me.
Rudy up in his mug. I'm gonna judge some things. Anyway, Van Lathan, that's his name, Van Lathan. But yeah, he was the guy from TMZ. Van Jones was never on TMZ. I get the vans, all the you got so many vans out here,
Hmm.
just way too excess supply of vans. But speaking of vans and U-Hauls, did you know that Illinois, our state, U-Haul reported that we have more people leaving our state than any other state in the country.
Why? The
Like,
Midwest is the best place to live in the whole
well,
world.
they said it's because of high taxes and
What
in crime.
what do you mean high taxes? Somebody's got to pay to pave the road. Somebody has to pay for all the beautiful scenery that you see in downtown Chicago. Somebody's got to pay for that.
Yeah,
Somebody's
but
got
our
to
tax,
pay for
but how?
children to go to
Well, it's
school.
how much you pay. It's not that whether you pay or not. It's how
No,
much you pay.
people just be trying to get out of stuff. They'll be back.
I
They
don't know.
grass. Let me tell you something. The grass is not greener. I happily pay my taxes.
I
I
want to.
happily pay my
I
taxes.
want to go to Florida.
I
Anyway,
don't want to go to Florida.
nicer weather, lower taxes. All right.
Okay, wait, hold on.
Yeah,
Let me. Can I say something, please?
yeah.
Don't make a comment like that and then just move on.
Okay.
Florida is nicer weather. You got tornadoes, you got hurricanes, you have hailstorms. I mean, the weather is treacherous in Florida.
I still like Florida
And it
better.
is so freaking hot. I remember when I first moved to Florida because I lived in Florida. You have not lived in Florida. I lived in Florida. I couldn't even walk outside with my glasses on because it would get all fogged up. I couldn't see where I was going, literally.
That's
Like,
why.
Florida is a hot ass
That's why you
place.
got air conditioning. Okay. Anyway, on to the
All
next
right,
topic.
let's move
All
on,
right.
but come on.
So anyway, do me a favor. Hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, share, subscribe. All right. So yeah. So thank you, Monique. Um. See, that's why I like talking to intelligent black people. They always come with the information.
What'd she
So
say?
basically, Monique says that she's on the show with Mario Lopez. She was on it's not entertainment tonight, it's something else, but it's like that, one of those shows. But she doesn't have the show anymore. Extra, I think it's called Extra. And
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
so she was probably making like millions of dollars doing something
You
like
know
that.
what? I don't hate her. So she got on The Bachelorette. She somehow made it onto The Bachelorette and worked that gig.
She did.
She was like, you know what? She got a publicist and she got her team together and was like, put me out there everywhere. And she is she's easy on the eyes and she's not pro-black in any means, in any way. It's not
Well,
like she's like,
that's the question. Can you be pro black and marry Chad? Like, can you marry a white boy and still be pro black?
no, you can't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can't be. You can't be pro-black because that wouldn't. How would that work? How you gonna be pro-black and then stare at your white partner?
Well, maybe Chad is pro black, and maybe Chad wants to help.
Mm,
I mean, I'm
that's
not.
a tough one.
Well, here's my thing, right? I do think that who you marry matters, right? I was very clear that I would not marry anything other than a black woman. But that's because I know about the statistics. I know that there is an imbalance in the number of marriage eligible black men and marriage eligible black women. I learned about that from my mother when I was 16. I
Okay.
read up on it in The Economist. Yeah, don't really pay attention now. Like mass incarceration really did a number. The Vietnam War, mass incarceration, it kind of created like an imbalance. That's why if you go to a lot of HBCUs, the women significantly outnumber the men, right? So you have some men that say, yeah, I think I want to settle down, I want to get married. But then you have other men that say, wait, look at all these women out here. Why would I pick one when I can have four? And what's interesting is, like, we were talking last week about Umar Johnson, and when Umar went and he kind of went at that guy for having a white girlfriend, which I thought was very entertaining to watch. But if you look at Umar's track record, Umar's never committed to one black woman. He clearly made a statement. He said monogamy is not meant for the alpha male or something like that. He said, or it's not natural to the alpha male.
Yeah, I just wonder about how do you maintain true intimacy with somebody with when you're dating four women at the same time? Like
Well,
it's in.
but I thought we can't judge. I thought you said you weren't gonna judge.
I didn't judge. I'm just laying out the scenario. The scenario. I'm not judging her. I'm
Hmm.
not judging her if she's non-threatening. She's non-threatening and she has done a wonderful job promoting herself. And that's
Hmm.
okay. But you can't be pro-black and be married to a white person, I don't think. But it's okay. You don't have to be pro-black. Being pro-black is not for everybody. It's
Yeah, I'm gonna
okay.
say that you can be pro-black and be married to a white person, but you're not as pro-black as somebody who invested their life in the black
Okay,
family,
so it's
right?
levels. It's
It's
levels to
levels.
pro
Yeah,
black.
it's levels. It's levels, right? It's like if you and I support the same charity, and I give $1,000 and you give 1 billion, we have different levels of commitment.
Okay, well, wait a minute. You didn't marry me out of charity to the black community, though. You
Well,
didn't marry me. You didn't marry me thinking. I hope that you
well,
married
no,
me.
I married you.
I hope that you married me because of me, not because I'm black.
Well, first off, I married you because you're beautiful. Like I think you're smart, and we've been friends for a long time, and I just you're the most beautiful woman I ever saw in my life, right? So it was an honor to marry you. Let me make that 100% clear. But the second thing I will say is, if you were white, I would not have married you,
Oh, it would
and
have been a
it's not
hard.
it's it would have been a hard conversation, but I wouldn't. I just wasn't interested. I wanted to marry a black woman because I felt as a black man, I'm committed. I think your actions speak louder than your words. See, here's what I want people to understand. A lot of the brothers out here that will beat the hell out of a black woman for marrying a white guy, those men are not willing to commit to anybody. And that's the challenge I gave to Umar was I said, I get what you're saying about, promoting, or promoting like intra-racial marriage, like getting black men to marry black women. But did you marry a black woman? Do you have a black family? Are you heading a black household? And the answer is no. And so the question is, why would I ask you? No,
hmm
seriously, no, it's a serious question. Why would I ask you to do something I'm not willing to do myself?
Okay, yeah, it was a lot I wanted to say there. So, okay, here's the situation with Rachel. She marries this white man, and now he's now going to take her money.
True.
I would, but I would. It's state laws about in terms of whether you have to pay alimony to your spouse, and I think it depends on how long you were married to each other. So even if he were to get alimony, it would only be for a short amount of time. It wouldn't even be for a very a long span of time. But now she's giving all of her a lot of her resources over to this white man who knows if he's going to go on and marry another black woman. We don't know.
Well,
And I don't wonder if if he's one of those people. I didn't really watch the show, but I don't know if they're one of those people that think that we're in a post-racial society and we don't see color.
Um,
I don't see color.
it's interesting, right? Like on this podcast from Van Lathan that she does, from what I understand, they talk about a lot of black topics, but I think they talk about it more from what you see on a lot of college campuses. You see, what do they call it? Not cross sectional. Is it cross sectionality? Is that the term?
Oh, intersectionality? Oh
Intersectionality.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
a
yeah.
thing.
So intersectionality is a more liberalized version of blackness in the sense that it kind of equates blackness with being gay, with being trans, with feminism,
No,
and
no,
all these other ideas. It seems to
is
me
that
that,
what intersectionality
yeah,
is?
because it kind of just says let's pull together. To me, I should go get the formal definition. I don't want to
No,
undermine it.
why don't you ask me? Because I teach it every
Okay, well,
year in my
why don't you share
classes.
your, okay, professor?
It's not my point of view.
Okay,
It's what
all
what
right, professor. So
intersectionality is.
give me
So,
your definition of intersectionality.
well, I don't know if it's my definition, but
Hmm.
the definition of intersectionality is that all of us, every single one of us, we all have aspects of ourselves that represent who we are in any moment. And part of those things is a combination of all different sections of which we subscribe to. So I am a woman, but also as a woman, I am also African American. And also as African American, as a woman, I also was born and raised, I was born in Tuskegee and raised in Gary, Indiana. And that community is impoverished. Not that I grew up in poverty, but socioeconomic status is also a third one. Also, so all of those three things make up who I am, and those are intersectionalities that represent who I am.
Okay, so I get that, right? But
Uh-huh.
what I also hear is I hear a lot of language that gets into coalition building, as a function of intersectionality. And what I mean by that is
Yeah.
you go to campuses and they say this is for the black people, and you're like, yeah, this is also for the gay people, yeah, this is for the trans folk, yeah, this is also for the queer, for whatever, for women, but yeah, and I get all that, but the
Yeah.
problem is that the blackness ends up being diluted in a really problematic way, and it leads to these weird outcomes where we end up just being oppressed by a different group of people. We end up being pushed to the back of the bus, and so like, so for example, so some things that get lost in the sauce is the importance of black on black love as a function of black power, the ownership of black businesses that sustain and support the black community in a holistic manner, that
Mm-hmm.
support the masses of black people. The idea that integration may not be everything that we think that it is, right? So I personally will say that intersectional version of blackness, which ends up leading to things like, this is why we got to get Trump out of office and we got to vote for Joe Biden.
Yeah.
That's not the blackness that always makes sense, because remember, Joe Biden was largely responsible for the problems that you have right now with black women not finding good husbands. When
Mm-hmm.
you incarcerate that many men in a
Mm-hmm.
community, you destroy that community.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Biden is responsible for putting 1 million black men in prison.
Yeah, that's true, but I don't know if necessarily that is so closely related to intersectionality in and of itself. Intersectionality is just saying these are all of the things that make up who I am. So suppose I was part of the LGBT plus community. That's another intersectionality air category that represents who I am. So I think intersectionality is just used as a lens to talk about all the different ways in which all of us on some level can have different categories. And by the way, you can be marginalized by being, if I'm part of the LGBT population, let's say, there's partly a marginalization that I experience because we live in the world that is very heterosexual. I'm not saying anything is good or that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that's the way it is. We also live in a world that is holds up standards of whiteness.
We do. Now, here's the thing.
So,
This is the difference between
yeah.
standard intersectionality on a college campus and B1 culture.
Yeah.
B1 culture says you're black first. That means you might be
Oh
black, you
yeah.
might be black and gay, you might
I
be
love
black and
it.
straight, you might be black and woman, you might be black and whatever, black and trans, but you're black first. And so you cannot conflate or undermine the quest to sort of do what we need to do as a community, as a black community, by getting caught up in like, well, yeah, I'm black first, but my alliance with the trans community supersedes with the black community, because they have the racism in the trans community, they have the
Yeah.
racism in LGBT, they have the racism. This is and it shows
Mhm.
itself, for example, in the way Dave Chappelle was treated. When he sort of expressed his blackness in his own unique way,
Mhm.
or So I would say overall, it's one of those things where it's really a subtle difference, but people don't always understand. They don't understand why a black man like me can't go to like Columbia University and feel comfortable. It's
Yeah.
because my blackness gets attached to all these liberal ideas that I think are horrifically anti-family. Like
Mhm.
when there was that black professor at Columbia that was running around promoting drug use and talking about how he uses a little heroin to take the edge off, and he
Mhm.
thinks that a crystal meth is okay to use in certain doses or whatever. And I was like, brother,
Hmm.
do you
That's
have
interesting.
any idea what happened to the black family when the CIA dumped crack into the black
So
community?
that's an intersection. That's an intersection in the black community. Is also um, a substance abuser. That's also something that's had a huge impact on our community. So that's an intersection. So I love all of it because being part of the B1 community, I mean, it's beautiful. But hopefully within the B1 community, there's allowance for people to be all the different types of blackness that they want to adhere to,
Yeah.
whatever it
Well,
means
well,
to
my
them.
position is simple.
Mhm.
You know, if you happen to be gay, then be gay. I
Mhm.
don't judge. I don't care what you do in the bedroom. If you cheat on your wife, just like I don't care if you cheat on your wife. That's not my business. That's not I'm not going to disown another black person because he's
Yeah.
gay or he cheats on his wife or
Right.
he goes to a different church. Like all these topics are used to divide us, right? Or
Mhm.
if you're a feminist and I'm not, or whatever. Like, no, no, no. We're all black. We all,
Mhm.
or you voted for Trump and I voted for Biden. I'm not going to disavow another black person over these issues that are designed to divide us. And I
Mhm.
think that if you just look at Democrat Republican nonsense alone, look at how many black people who are in the same family
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
fighting each other because your auntie voted for Trump and your uncle voted for Biden.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
I
I don't believe that should be drive a wedge in the black family at all.
yeah, it shouldn't drive a wedge, and I absolutely agree, but look at the civil rights movement. If you look at
Which actually did not work, by the way.
Okay, I know it didn't work, but I just want to use it as an example. Look at the civil rights movement and what black women had to go through in that movement because there's lots of examples of patriarchy. And by the way, patriarchy is a one of the indicators of whiteness. So a lot of the black men in the civil rights community and they were pro-black and everything, but they were also very sexist. And it was oppressive to a lot of black women to be part of that culture because they felt like they were being oppressed. Now, when a lot of black women said, okay, well, I feel like this whole patriarchal system is really undermining me. I'm going to go and try to be a feminist. What happened when they did that? They were faced with racism, you know? So, and then, so that it made it to be a very complex situation for black women in general. And that's why the intersectionalities mean something. It's when it becomes a sort of topic where the black men, not all of course, a lot of black men in that movement, honored and respect black women, but it was very difficult for black women back then to really say this is something that is near and dear to our heart that I really want to help fight for, and they felt oppressed as women.
And I do get that, right? And
Yeah.
I think that that's important
So
to
that's
understand.
where
The
mhm.
problem, though, is that then you get movies like The Color Purple, which unfortunately is an alliance between white men and feminist black women to bash black men.
Oh, it definitely
And to talk
it
about how,
definitely did that.
like I saw somebody mention earlier, she mentioned that Alice Walker's married to a Jewish man. And I'm not surprised because that's probably what got her opportunities in Hollywood.
Mhm.
These alliances get formed where they then say, okay, we're going to give you $100 million to make movies about how terrible your men are, so that black women like this Lindsay lady suddenly start to feel like, well, the only way I can really be treated decently is if I marry this guy. Right. And as a black man, that I find that to be problematic and offensive. That's as I find that as offensive as you find it when the passport brothers say black women are crazy. Let's go overseas or
Yeah,
let's
I don't
go.
find that offensive, honestly. I I hear and I understand what the Passport Brothers have experienced, and I don't judge them. I just try to understand that those men are in pain. They've been hurt. And their hurt and their pain has never been validated on any level. And a lot of them, not all, but a lot of them have had a long history of being hurt by women, black women in particular. So they're hurting. Wouldn't you have to be hurting to spend all of your money in going overseas just to find love? That tells you that love and intimacy is so important for them on the forefront of their minds that they have to build an entire movement so that they can get the love that they feel like they need that they never got maybe at home.
Well,
I have empathy for them. I don't judge. It's a
right.
judge-free zone with me.
Anyway, by the way, you listen to Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and if you, Dr. Alicia is a licensed therapist and a full professor of social work. So if you'd like to go take a look at what she does, you can go to coaching with dralicia.com. She sees lots of clients on an individual and collective basis. I actually wrote a book called Financial Lovemaking that you guys can feel free to take a look at. It was sort of speaking of intersectionality, it was sort of it focuses on that intersection
Yeah.
between love and money.
There we
So if you'd
go.
like to go take a look at the book, you can go to drboycebooks.com. Please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. All right, so let's hop back into this conversation about Lindsay and her man. So this bachelorette decided, or I guess after 4 years, they decided to call it quits. And one thing that's interesting about this bachelorette discussion is that, and I agree with you, Wildfire. Passport Brothers aren't looking for love. Like some of them just looking for ass. So it's not even, you
Well,
know.
if they're looking for just a night of indulgence, you can get that here. You know what I mean? I think that they're really yearning for a real connection in a way that's not scary to them. I think they're operating out of fear. And I get it. I get it.
Well, I say to each his own, right?
Yeah.
So here's the thing, right? So these bachelor shows, they don't have a really good track record when it comes to strong relationships. Basically, I think you quoted a stat to me earlier that said that the overwhelming majority of bachelorette relationships, when these shows pull people together, most of them don't last. Is that right?
Okay. So I did pull up an article and they said the Bachelor and the Bachelorette haven't had the best success rate in terms of couples remaining together after the finale. As of 2023, so they hadn't even counted this recent thing. 47 couples, 9 out of 47 couples are still together. 9 out of 47. And
Mm.
now it's 8 out of 47 are still together. And by the way, they had a new season of The Bachelor, and he's an older guy, an older adult, and
Mm.
he's getting married. I think they got married already. I don't know. There's some big wedding coming up with the new season. It's like an older adult, which I love that they did that. But yeah, so they don't have a good track record. But the thing is that it's easier to find somebody and fall in love with them, but it's more difficult to stay together because how people behave when in an argument, that is kind of the indicator of whether that relationship would be healthy or not.
Mm.
How you behave when you're triggered.
Well, a lot of these shows, unfortunately, I don't think they're designed to lead to lasting relationships anyway, because a lot
Mm-hmm.
of it's based on superficial stuff like what people look like. You're performing for TV.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what the motivations are of the people that are on the show. Some of them are on there just so they can become famous, right? So, and then you throw in the chaos of social media and all that. I was looking up this Lindsay person, and I saw she has almost a million social media followers or something crazy like that. Like her, 800 and something thousand, and so she has almost twice as many as I had until they destroyed my Instagram account. Which, by the way, my new Instagram is Dr. Boyce Finance if you want to follow me there. But anyway, I think I only got up to 500,000. But yeah, this lady had more than me. She had like 900,000 or something, and so she was able to build this career off this. She's an attorney. She's smart. She's got these TV shows. So there's this sort of quest to invest heavily in your career, right? And I think that what also happens to a lot of people in their mid to late 30s is they still feel young, and they're not young, like they used to be anyway, but they think they're young, right? So that people think that 40 is the new 30 and all this other nonsense. And then what happens is they end up passing up meaningful connections and family and children and all that so they can get on TV and get more Instagram followers. And so now it's interesting to sort of see this relationship come to an end, and I wonder how family and children played a part in the decision for them to break up. Like I wonder if he said, I think I'd like to have some kids. Maybe she said no, or maybe one of them can't have kids, or I wonder if that played a part, and then I also think that I wouldn't blame her if she was a little bit bitter over this idea that you've worked hard to build this great career, and then you're married this guy that you met on a TV show.
Yeah, no,
Y'all
no,
last
no.
4 years,
I
and then he's
wanna
asking for a piece of everything you've earned.
Yeah, I want to jump in here because I didn't get that. I think these people really do fall in love with each other.
Mm.
I mean, if you put people together, they're attracted to each other, they get to know each other, and the more they get to know each other, the more they start to like each other and they're in this intimate space with each other. I think the love is really real. And the two of them, I think they made a really great effort to try to make it work because from what I'm understanding is that they decided that they weren't going to put their relationship on social media. They were never doing a pillow talk, boys.
But you met on TV.
That's the thing. They met on reality TV and they saw something or realized something. They said, "You know what? we're not going to be part of the statistic. We're going to make sure that we do not put our relationship issues out there. We're not going to post a lot of pictures of each other. They purposely wanted to keep their marriage private so that they can really work on having a strong union. And they also mentioned that they wanted to have a start a family
Mm,
and that there were some complications with
mm-hmm.
starting a family. So maybe there were some fertility issues, and that's something that affects all of us. And that can cause a lot of issues in a relationship or definitely in a marriage when they know that one or both people in some way is unable to have children when both of them want to have children.
Mm.
So I mean there were some struggles that was happening, very real struggles happening in their marriage. And of course, they decided to part for whatever reason.
Well, I kind of I'm gonna go and make that assumption that they came off of social media because they wanted to have substance in their relationship.
Yeah, I think they
Another
really loved each
possibility,
other.
though, is that I've seen cases where you have a black actress or actor who has the melanin deficient partner, where they deliberately keep that person off of their social media. I've seen black male sex symbols do that, where they know that black women are attracted to them, so they don't put their white girlfriend on their social media. And I've also seen black women, a lot of black women in Hollywood, that end up succeeding. They do well because they have the white husband or the Jewish husband. Like Alice Walker. Somebody mentioned Alice Walker having a Jewish husband. That doesn't surprise me. Whoopi Goldberg, who worked with Alice Walker, has been, I think she converted to Judaism, right? Because we know who runs Hollywood, right? We know which community has power there. Lee Daniels, his boyfriend was Jewish, so I kind of feel like there is kind of this interesting thing where
And Quinta Brunson,
Quinta Brunson, yeah, same thing,
yeah,
white
she's
Jewish
got a
husband.
white Jewish husband.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So there's a pattern there, right? And it's not to disparage that one way or the other, but I think it does kind of um it makes it complex, right? It makes it complex. And then I don't really know if we even know why they were not on social media. I mean, I personally will say this. If I'm watching The Bachelor or The Bachelorette and two people get together, I would take any bet of any amount of money that they aren't gonna last. I
Hmm.
just
Well,
don't believe
staying together
I
is where the hard work comes in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and you're addicted to the dopamine rush of fame and instant gratification, and dealing with the best looking people in these heavily attention grabbing circumstances that are kind of high octane, fueled by looks and sex and fame and money and all these drugs. It's almost like meeting somebody in a crack house. If you meet somebody at a crack house, you're not likely gonna have like a nice, long, stable relationship. You're fast and furious.
It's the crackhead mentality.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
what it is for
Although
you?
crackheads can fall in love too.
They do fall
You
in
remember
love.
Hallie and Samuel L. Jackson in what was that
And
movie?
Samuel
Jungle
Jackson,
Jungle Fever,
yeah, but
and him and his wife both had the drug addiction, right?
and Samuel Jackson in real life. What a beautiful story. He and his wife. Wait, I'm not mixing them up with anybody. But isn't that how they started?
I think they might have had some. I'm not. I got to
They
double check
both
that, but
started as like drug addicts, and they're not anymore. So yeah, love can appear anywhere, and I think it's beautiful. Nothing's more beautiful than two drug addicts trying to live this life together. They got to work in tandem with each other to try to get their next hit. It's a beautiful. Look at Whitney and Bobby. Look at Whitney and Bobby.
I think you fell in love with what you saw on TV. I don't think that.
Whitney and
I
Bobby,
think
that
that. I
reality
think that.
show was straight up reality.
I
They
get
were
it.
not
I
doing
get
nothing for
it.
no
I
cameras.
get it. But the thing is, when I talk about any public couple, I'm assuming I only know 5% or less about their relationship.
Yeah, because it's none of our business. But Whitney and
Well, it is our
Bobby,
business. They make it our business. They want it to be our business.
it's not our business. But I just love that Whitney and Bobby show because I mean, I would, boys, I would watch that show. I couldn't even sit down and watch that show. I would stand in the middle of my living room in Florida when I was living in Florida. I would stand in the middle of my living room with my mouth hung open for a whole half hour That's
Mm,
how interesting Whitney and Bobby's reality show. Because in my mind, you have to understand, in my mind, I grew up with Whitney Houston being the most classiest woman in the world, the best vocalist ever. Her what Clive Davis did with her and making her out to be this queen, basically. This and I just looked up to her so much just as a person and her music and all of that. And to see the Whitney and Bobby reality show, it was like I could not believe what I was watching. Like she was nippy. She was nippy on that show. She was not Whitney to me.
mm.
Did
Well,
you watch that show?
I saw some of it.
How can you see
I,
some of it and not
I
get
no. Well,
sucked into that whole show?
because I'm not a woman and I don't get into drama like you do. You
Oh,
like
it was
you right.
good. Yeah,
But
because I
I
guess as a therapist, I gotta
yeah,
see the
you're a therapist.
dynamics
You're a
thing.
therapist. You're a woman. You like the drama. You like the movies about relationships. I like the movies where things get blown up and
Oh, the
people
Equalizer.
shoot each other. Yeah, Denzel and the Equalizer. That's gonna be my next movie. But here's the thing. Here's the thing I want to lay out about that though. I'm gonna tell you from my perspective. I felt like Bobby and Whitney were doomed from the beginning. I just don't think. First off, again, we go back to drugs and what drugs have just done to the black community. They just have ruined so many families, so many, caused so much pain. I think we should have a drug-free policy. I don't even understand why we will allow rappers to go and get paid by their bosses to promote drugs in the black community. They're destroying young people. They're destroying the future of the black community.
Yeah.
It's doing more damage than the KKK ever could. That we
Yeah.
literally are we're literally funding KKK level genocide on our people. I think it's crazy. But
I
the other
agree with
thing
you.
too is, is that so if you look at their story, right? You have Bobby and Whitney who appear to be living the dream, right? Everybody dreams of going to Hollywood and being famous. They both go to Hollywood. They become famous. They both get wrapped up in drugs. Um, I think Hollywood introduces a lot of talented black people to a lifestyle that they would not otherwise pursue. Clive Davis is in some cases people are insinuating Clive Davis is kind of the ringleader that remember Diddy was mentored by this guy from what I understand, right? So Clive
Mm.
Davis and that culture, there's something about that culture that brings in the drugs and a lot of weird behavior. But here's the thing too. Look at that story. I mean, it looked like it's just a really fun thing to talk about, and their relationship was amazing entertainment. But the whole time they were entertaining the world, they really needed help. It was like watching R. Kelly destroy himself in slow motion.
Yeah.
They needed help, and what was the consequence? Well, here's the consequence: a family's been torn apart. Whitney's dead. Bobby Christina is dead. Isn't Bobby Christina's boyfriend? Didn't he also die?
Oh, it was really bizarre.
Yeah,
That whole
Nick,
thing was
what's his
really
face is dead.
bizarre. Hmm.
A lot of wealth got lost, a family destroyed, right? So all for our entertainment, all because we enjoy watching the train wreck.
Yeah, I also cheered for her comeback. I also cheered for her to be sober. And we didn't know Bobby Christina had a substance abuse issue too. But I also cheered for all of them to do better. And we see Bobby Brown seems to be he's married again. He seems to be he's on tour with New Edition, doing those moves the best he can. You
Bobby's
know,
he looked like he barely hanging
but
on.
you know what? I think you know what when I look at him, because he's changed physically. Like he doesn't look like the old Bobby Brown.
No, he
When
does
I
not.
see him, I really see a man who's grieving.
Mm.
I'm almost certain he just looks like somebody who's been through a lot. I mean, we know he has, but just in his face and in his body, he's looked like somebody who's just holding on to a lot of emotion. And I'm happy. I'm happy he's made a comeback because it seems like he's clean. We don't know for sure, but it seems
Mm.
like he's clean. Let me
Well,
tell you something. When your wife and daughter dies in that kind of way with drugs, I
uh,
mean, that's a great indicator you need to get your act together because you could be next. You know?
I'll say this: I'm not gonna. I wish him the best. I really do. What I see from my perspective is I don't have any sympathy per se for Bobby. I mean, he's a grown man. He made his own choices. What I see as a black man, as a fellow black man in my 50s, is I see what I want young people to pay attention to, which is the consequences that eventually come home to roost when you make irresponsible choices when you're young. When you get caught up in all the hype and all the flash and all the money and all the
Hmm.
women and everything else. I remember Bobby was the hottest thing around. Bobby had millions of fans. Bobby had lots of money. Bobby was able to live whatever kind of wild lifestyle he
That
wanted to
great
live.
solo career.
Right.
A
He
great
made he
solo
made
career.
songs about it. He made defiant songs. It's my
Yeah.
prerogative, and
Tenderoni, come
I don't need
on.
permission to make my own decisions. Right. So choices.
Yeah.
E40 has a song called Choices, and I really want young
Yeah.
people that are watching this to know how choices affect you, good and bad. And so
Hmm.
when I look at Bobby, or you look at worst cases like DMX or R. Kelly, choices, choices, choices. And I personally believe this is where I become Mr. Black Man, is I feel like we have a society where entertainment encourages black men to make very bad choices while they're young.
Yeah.
And then later on when they get older and they're trying to become husbands and fathers and whatever else they're trying to be in your 40s and 50s, you can't do that because your choices in your 20s were so bad.
Hmm.
So that's what I see with Bobby. I mean, I wish him the best, but none of that. I mean, all that didn't. None of that had to happen. And I'm like, who are the people that should have intervened? Like, we talk about the Clive Davises and all that, and give them credit for building Whitney's career. Well, what were these people? What did these people do to force her to get away from the drugs that were killing her?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I work in substance abuse, and you can't force somebody to recover. It has to be something that they have to decide they need to do for themselves. You can say to somebody who's using substances or addicted to substances, you can say, here are the places you can go to get help. But you can't make that phone call for them. You can't get in the car and drive them and drop them off at a rehab clinic. They have to want to do it. And that's the choice that they have to make. I mean, relapse is a very serious thing. And you're right, it is choices. It's your own particular choice. You can't save anybody. You have to really work on saving yourself.
I get that, right?
Yeah.
But I also think about the question to me. The problem I have, how about that, is in Hollywood. I get it that people are grown, they make their own choices.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's something about Hollywood that feeds the beast, that enables that behavior, that encourages the behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody knew DMX was probably gonna die. Everybody knew R. Kelly was gonna die. A lot of people
Wait,
knew.
R. Kelly's still
I mean,
alive,
not R.
right?
Kelly. Sorry, was gonna go down. I said I didn't mean to say that. I
Oh,
didn't mean to
okay.
put death on him. But everybody knew R. Kelly was gonna go down. Everybody, a lot of people knew Whitney Houston was gonna go down, or die or something, right?
Yeah, if she
And
didn't.
so my thought,
Yeah.
here's my thing, right? This is where money comes into play, right? That's my thing. I'm in, my doctorate's in money, and I feel like money creates these weird scenarios where people are, when they're making so much money off of you, they don't care if you're about your well-being. They don't
Oh,
care.
yeah.
They don't care if you're going to get better or not. They'll give you more drugs if that's what it takes to get you back on stage. We watch Amy Winehouse, fall apart from drugs, and so my thought is that it's unfortunate that there's not a trip switch. Like, if you're Clive Davis, let's say, for example, I'm not putting us all on him, right? Obviously, people make their own choices, but and who knows? For all we know, that could be his lifestyle,
Well,
right?
Clive was trying to get her into treatment. I mean, that's what the story's been told,
Well,
you
that
know.
story was probably made
It's-
by one of his
Who
production
knows?
companies.
Let's just say Clive was like, Whitney, I'm not going to work on another album with you till you become clean.
That
Like, that's
that
an investment he doesn't want to
well,
do.
that Whitney Houston movie was a bunch of BS.
Well,
It was all pushing.
we're just using it as
Yeah, it
illustration
was
here.
all
Who
agenda
knows?
driven. It was, they made Clive, they made the black father look like the big asshole. They made the white man look like the wonderful angel who protects the black woman from the terrible black man. Like, this is a narrative we see consistently in Hollywood. That's what The Color Purple is to me.
I think so
It's
too.
it's like it's like you have so many scenarios where they want, and I think that I'm probably triggered by it because I
Hmm.
saw it. I dated a woman a long time ago who grew up in a tough situation where the black men around her were not quality men, and in her mind, she had this fantasy that a wonderful white man was going to take her away from all of this, like Calgon, take me away. So she's the type of person that would watch Meghan Markle marry the oppressor across the sea, the prince, what's his face, and she would be like fantasizing about that wedding. Like, she would watch every minute of it, right? Because there's something there that says that the nightmare, the challenge of being black, is
Hmm.
sort of purified by injecting whiteness into your life.
Yeah, I've been watching. There's an Elvis Presley movie out that's on Netflix, and I've been watching part of it while I do the Peloton.
Mm-hmm.
Very fascinating story, but that's another example of him using substances. And that music industry, they were like, we don't care. You're going to actually go out there on that stage and you're going to perform. And they gave him drugs just to make him perform. Now that's what the
Now
movies
who is
show.
this when you say
The
him?
Elvis Presley,
Oh, Elvis.
Elvis Presley
Mm,
himself.
yeah, I can see
And
that.
which was fascinating because he grew up out of necessity because his father left the house because he went to prison. His father went to prison,
Mm.
and his mother had to clean houses in the black community. So he grew up around black churches, and he just basically imitated everything he saw as a child and introduced it to white people and made a killing. It was a really interesting
So
story.
he was the original Eminem, Justin
He was,
Bieber.
yeah, he was the Justin Timberlake
Ju-
of,
Well, I'm saying Justin Bieber, but maybe Timberlake too.
yeah. Well, he had a lot of R&B hits.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
whatever.
you know, they well everybody.
Alan Thicke's son. What's
Oh,
his
that's
name?
funny,
Robin Thicke.
Robin Thicke.
Whatever you want to call
Well, you know what? I personally will say. So let's. I guess
Oh,
we
wait,
we can
we got
circle
to
back
talk
to this
about our
topic.
topic. Yeah.
Well, we should probably finish up the conversation because we just tend to
It's
end up
time
talking
to
about
it's
everything.
time to start our day, boys.
Yeah, it is. It is. Well, by the way, everybody, this podcast is on Spotify. So if you have Spotify, it would be awesome if you followed us on Spotify. Just look up Boyce Watkins on Spotify, and I put everything under the Dr. Boyce breakdown. So feel free to follow there. And also, if you want to check out Alicia's coaching practice and her therapy practice, you can go to coachingwithdralicia.com and see what she's got going on over there. All right. So I'll say this. Um, Here's my final assessment as far as this thing with the Bachelorette. Number one, I think that relationships and marriage uh, pretty much are, it seems to me that like they're well, these are difficult tasks that require a lot of substance, and I don't think it's a fit for television based relationships, right? I think that when you're meeting somebody on TV and it's sort of that Hollywood space and you've got all these variables kind of circling around you, I think it makes your relationship that much more difficult. So I would have predicted this to not last just from the beginning. But then number two, I think that this whole idea of spousal support, if I'm her, I'm angry. I'm really upset that, okay, I met this dude, 4 years ago, we got married on the TV show. Now 4 years later, everything that I've worked hard for, he thinks he deserves a piece of that. Um, I don't understand spousal support because to me, the benefit of being with you is that I get access to what you have, and if I'm not with you anymore, I don't have access to that anymore. It's just like if I'm sleeping with you, if when you and I are together, we sleep together. But if I break up with you, I can't say, well, I became dependent on on your vagina. I really need that in order for me to feel comfortable every day and to maintain the lifestyle to which I've become accustomed. So you have to share everything with me even after I'm gone. Like no, you part ways. I believe you part ways unless there are children involved, in which case the children cost money and all that. But this idea of one person kind of becoming a welfare office for another person, I think it's a fundamentally flawed assumption.
Okay, so the thing with spousal support, I will end with the spousal support. So, in order for two people who get together, in order for both of them to be successful, you have to, in some way, sacrifice a lot so that the other partner can become successful. So, in order for you boys to do all of the things that you need to do, we're using me and you as an example, right? You have to, suppose I get up in the morning when we get out of bed. I get up and I make you your coffee and I cook you your breakfast and I make sure your laundry's taken care of and all of those things that you need so that you can, instead of focusing on the household, you focus on making money and doing the things that you do in your position, in your job. And because of that, you are able to make a lot more money. Suppose I am going to church every Sunday, praying real hard for your fortune and making sure that I'm doing everything that you would need from me as a wife to see to it that you are successful. on an energetic level, on how we interact with each other. I'm cooking you dinner. You don't have to worry about dinner. I'm giving you a nice, wholesome meal every single day so that your mind, body, spirit, and everything can be aligned. And therefore, waves of fortune come through you, but not for the fact that I have helped and supported you. Would you have
Oh,
would you be able to see you messing me up? Would you be able to be as successful as you would have if you had to worry about all those things on your own? So I'm just laying
mhm.
out a scenario where spousal support might be possible.
I get it. I hear it. I still don't believe it because
What do you mean you
to
don't
me,
believe it?
if I'm making it, then that means if I make an investment in you, if I'm invested in you to the point where I've helped you become super successful, then maybe I need to stay married to you. Maybe that's the play, right? Instead of me thinking I can leave you, abandon you, and still get a piece of you. If I go and I have some land and I put my heart and soul into that land and I plant crops and trees on the land and I mow the land, I take good care of I make the soil super fertile, and then I abandon the land, then I've given up my rights to some extent. I'm not saying, again, I know
I'm
spousal
just
support.
explaining. I'm not saying I
I
agree
I
with
get.
anything. I'm just
Right.
explaining
I
the
understand.
thoughts.
Like, there's no doubt about it, right? Like, if you're a good person in a relationship, you can add a lot of value to a person's life that has nothing to do with money. Right. And we see it all the time. We see men that sacrifice like crazy for their wives' careers. We see women that sacrifice like crazy for their husbands'
Look at the
careers.
guy on the Lakers. Um, the guy from the Lakers who said, "I owe everything that I have, all the success in my life, I owe it to my wife."
Talking about LeBron.
LeBron in Savannah. It's
Well,
not Sabrina, Savannah. He talks about that all the time. He
and
was like, I really cherish and honor what this woman has done for me. She has helped me become a better person and a better basketball player, and more wealth has come because of it. Because I think that's what it is. If you do right by each other as a spouse, which I try to do every single day. Do I not, boys? I try my best to do
you do good.
everything that I can to make
I
sure that I
appreciate
am
it.
the best spouse for you so that you can be successful, and you do that for me too. So these are important things to keep in mind so that you can build that sort of wealth together, and you can't necessarily be as successful when you're doing it solo. It's
I
so much better to do it as a
and I
unit.
totally hear all that, right? And
Uh-huh.
but I don't think this couple that met on TV that's been married 4 years is even in the same class as LeBron and Savannah.
No,
LeBron and
of course
Savannah,
not.
yeah, LeBron and Savannah are like a sycamore tree that has roots that go 30 feet deep into the ground. This is like a little tree you planted from that you picked up from Lowe's, or
Well,
Home Depot, and you just popped it in the ground 20
well,
minutes
the
ago.
spousal support is equal to the amount of time that you're married. It's not
Okay, and
like,
and and I
yeah.
and I and I hear all that, right? I get all that, but remember, Savannah gave birth to LeBron's children.
Now that's a different
She's been with
story.
him. She was with.
Child support is different from
Right,
spousal.
I get that, but
Okay.
still, even then, I think that I would be more amenable to giving spousal support to a woman that I built a family with than I would in a scenario where we didn't build a family. We were just a couple. We
Well,
were together,
that's sort of
and
interesting because you know it. I don't know. I mean, spousal support is apart from child support, and it has a different meaning behind it.
yeah, I get it. I
There
get
are a
it.
lot of women, and this is what happened with this couple. There was some fertility issues. Just because you have some fertility issues doesn't mean that you can't help the household in some other way.
Oh, I'm not saying that they didn't help each
Okay.
other. I assume that they helped each other. I assume he helped her, she helped him.
He's a chiropractor. Maybe when she was standing all day on doing her TV show, her anchor, maybe he gave her free chiropractic
Right,
services.
right,
And so she was able.
I get it,
I don't
I
know
get it,
what was
but we don't have to
happening.
pay our chiropractor spousal support. Like,
Well, you pay your chiropractor
we
something.
pay them in the moment for what, and I'm sure she compensated him in whatever way they agreed upon in the moment. Like,
Well, maybe not. I
I
don't
just think,
know.
right,
Who
I think,
know? That's the thing. I mean, he's gonna have to make the case for
yeah, I'm not really a fan of the idea of anybody, male or female, being able to be married to somebody for 4 years and then walk away and say, I need you to send me money so I can maintain a certain lifestyle. I don't like that. But really the law does not, just because I don't like it doesn't mean the law is going to agree. So I think strategy is very important. I would encourage anybody that has anything that you want to hold on to. I know that it's taboo to say that you should be thoughtful about what resources that other person has, but I think that's really important. Again, now this guy's a chiropractor. I assume that that means he wasn't broke, but clearly there must be some disproportion in their economic status. And maybe she ignored all that because she thought love would conquer all. Well, now you've basically taken in another dependent. You have another child, basically, that you're going to have to take care of. So he's leaving. He's saying, Mommy, I'm leaving. I need child support. And but men go through it all the time too, right? Men will pick a woman without thinking about where she is financially. And it's not so much a matter of saying that one choice is better than the other. It's a matter of making sure you make the choice that's going to work for you. You know, so I personally, I will say, I'll be honest. I'm happy to be married to you, but it was an easier decision knowing that you could take care of yourself.
Yeah,
But
well, you have a prenuptial agreement, so I don't know if this couple had that. Clearly, they must not have. But
yeah,
even if you have a prenuptial agreement, remember it's prenuptial. Like the money you make when you're together is different, right? So you always have to kind of like look at that over and over again and make sure that there's something in place. So maybe they didn't have a prenup. Maybe neither one of them had anything, and then since they've been together, it's been a hell of a 4 years for them. Maybe their career and everything really took off, or at least for her, it took off because she was on The Bachelor with him. So maybe that's his rationale. There has to be a rationale. I don't know.
well,
I wish him the best.
Well, Terrell says Simone Biles didn't marry down. He's an NFL player. Yeah, but just remember, NFL doesn't stand for National Football League, Terrell. NFL stands for not for long. So,
Where'd you get that from? I love that.
yeah, well, somebody said it, and it's not my original idea.
Oh,
But
that's
the
great,
average the
boys.
average career span of an NFL player is like 2.3 years. Now,
It's hard on the
I don't
body.
know how talented this guy is. Maybe his career will be longer, but NFL players typically they don't make any money out of after their 30s. After their 30th or 32nd birthday, they're pretty much done. And a lot of them have spent up all that money, so they then have to live the rest of their lives figuring out how to make a living,
Well,
and
hopefully they're smart enough to invest.
most of them aren't.
And the NFL is a big franchise. Like there's all different ways you can still become attached to the sport that they love because they really love NFL players really love the sport.
Yeah,
They seem to.
well, they do, and I hate to say it like this, but unfortunately, I was actually talking about this today, and I was really challenging my brothers actually, and I put up a post where I basically said that I was talking about hip hop culture, but hip hop culture and sports culture kind of overlap. Like that's why Lil Wayne is on ESPN all the time, even though he doesn't. I don't understand how Lil Wayne becomes a basketball analyst, but if you understand the overlap between hip hop culture and sports culture, it's pretty big, right? Because those are the two areas that the white man allows black men to really be prominent and wealthy. And unfortunately, and one thing I had to mention was I said hip hop culture doesn't produce good investors. A lot of the culture is built on instant gratification and materialism.
Mm-hmm.
And instant gratification does not produce wealth the way delayed gratification does. Materialism doesn't produce wealth the way a more frugal or conservative, financially conservative lifestyle does. So a lot of guys, they might make good money, I don't know, $1 million a year or whatever, from age 22 to 27. But 9 times out of 10, that money's just not gonna last past the age of 30. So
Because they're not mature. Like immature people are impulsive and think about instant gratification. I mean, just think about a toddler. Like they're not thinking about they're thinking about right now, what they want right now in this moment. They're not thinking about who they're gonna be when they grow up. So you're right. They definitely promote a culture where it's like an arrested development of black men.
Well,
Hmm.
actually, I write about that in my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. I
Yes.
refer to it as economic immaturity.
Yeah.
Economic immaturity is like if you ask a child, a 5-year old, if I give you $20, what are you going to do with the money?
Hmm.
What's the child going to say? The child's going to say, "Oh, I'm going to buy some candy. I'm going to buy some shoes. I'm going to get me some toys and stuff like that." Well, for some people, they never grow out of that. The child, the 5-year-old doesn't say, "Well, I'm gonna go I'm gonna pay the water bill, and then I'm gonna put some money in my 401k, and then I'm gonna go put some money down on some real estate." Like 5-year-olds don't say that, right? So what is unfortunate is that those 5-year-olds sometimes grow into 35-year-olds, and they're still thinking the same way they did when they were 5. You give them a bunch of money, they go buy a bunch of toys, except the toys are bigger and more expensive. It's not a toy car anymore, it's a Lamborghini, whatever. And next thing you know, financial problems come from that. So I agree with you. I think the maturity plays a part in it. The culture is a big part of it. I don't really think there's a whole lot that happens in the crossover of the culture between athletes and entertainers that breeds long-term sustainable wealth. That's why we've had 50 years of hip hop, and we don't have any grocery store chains. We don't have any black-owned hotels, no black-owned hospitals, like no infrastructure, no economic infrastructure has evolved from the 50 years that we've been contributing $1 trillion in white wealth and Jewish wealth through hip hop music. And I think that's a damn shame. We should be embarrassed about that. So anyway,
It is embarrassing.
yeah.
That's all. Are we done? We're done for today.
Absolutely. So I want to say thank you guys for hanging out with us. It was great talking to you. This is Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. Dr. Alicia is a licensed therapist and a full professor of social work. If you'd like to learn more about what she does, she sees clients on an individual basis and a collective basis. You can go to coachingwithdralicia.com. That's coachingwithdralicia.com. I also want to keep this out there. I hope you'll go Google this. We are still advocating for Robin Simpson. Robin Simpson was a member of the B1 community. She was stabbed by her husband over 100 times, 60 times in her face. He cut her heart and her brain out of her body in front of her daughter. At least this is according to their 8-year-old daughter, Essence. And we are making a lot of progress thanks to you and thanks to you all sharing the story. It's now a international story, actually. And we're now securing attorneys and doing a lot of stuff to really help the family get justice, because there's a lot of issues in terms of how the police handled all this, right? They're not releasing the information. There's just a lot to follow up on. So anyway, guys, I am done. Sort of shared this, but I hope you guys will help us to spread the word. Her name is Robin Simpson, and you can go Google it, and I hope you'll tell other people about it. All right, so let's see. Jess Puddle said something really funny. She said, Dr. Watkins and his wife sound like they just got done making love and are now talking over a cup of coffee at a table reading the newspaper. Well, you got part of that right, Jess. You got part of it right. We'll let you guess which one it is. All right. So anyway, y'all have a great morning. God bless you, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And we love you. Hit the thumbs up button on your way out. Thumbs up, share, subscribe, and we will talk to you soon. Take care now. Peace.